It's no secret that the BeatBuddy is a really cool drum machine, but did you know that it can get even cooler when you integrate it with the MIDI Maestro? Want to know more? Then stay tuned. Well, hey there, it's Scott at the Pedal Guy here. How you doing? Well, we're all about pedal demos, pedal knowledge, and pedal sales. I love pedals, and so do you. In this video, I'm going to show you how to integrate the BeatBuddy with the MIDI Maestro. The BeatBuddy is a great drum machine pedal, and the MIDI Maestro enhances that experience by giving you access to a whole bunch of great functions that you can use in real time while you're using the BeatBuddy on stage. I think you're going to really enjoy this video, so let's get to it. So in order to connect the BeatBuddy to the MIDI Maestro, you're going to need a couple of pieces of gear. First and foremost, you're going to need the MIDI Sync breakout cable, which we do carry here at the Pedal Guy. And you're also going to need a MIDI cable. And once you have these two, you can make the connection between your BeatBuddy and your MIDI Maestro. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Now, before we make the connections, I neglected to mention this, so I'll just mention it now. Make sure you get the latest firmware for the BeatBuddy and for the MIDI Maestro. There's a video on the Singular Sound website on how to update the firmware for the BeatBuddy. It's very simple. It'll take you about 5 to 10 minutes. And then what you want to do for the MIDI Maestro is you want to get the app that's now available on the iOS store and the Google store. And once you have that on your phone, simply link it up to the MIDI Maestro via Bluetooth. The connection is seamless. It takes only a second, and it will take about 5 minutes to update the firmware on the MIDI Maestro. And once that's done, power off the MIDI Maestro, power it back on, and you should be ready to go. Now that we've covered that, let's make the connections. All right, so the first things first, we need to connect up the MIDI Sync breakout cable to the BeatBuddy, which is up here in the upper left corner. Once that's done, we've made that connection. Let's also at this point connect up the audio as well. So there we go. Now, as far as the breakout cable goes, you can see they're both female connections. So we're going to use a standard MIDI cable to complete the connection between the BeatBuddy and the MIDI Maestro. Now, one thing to note here, if you've never worked with MIDI before, it's very simple. MIDI ins go to MIDI outs, not ins to ins and outs to outs. It's in goes to out, out goes to in. So in the case of how we integrate it with the MIDI Maestro is going to be sending out MIDI messages that are going to be received by the BeatBuddy. So we're going to go out to in. So we'll use our MIDI cable here, make our connection, MIDI out, and then we will go to the in port here on the MIDI on the BeatBuddy. Make the connections, and there we go. Now, once you, if you haven't used the Maestro before, you can scroll through the different modes of the Maestro. So right now it's in kind of its top level where you can go between custom mode, BeatBuddy mode, and Eros mode. We'll cover these two modes in future videos. But if you want to just get to BeatBuddy mode, you can just press the BeatBuddy mode. There's also a mode switch on the back of the BeatBuddy. the MIDI Maestro, sorry. So you can get to the BeatBuddy mode quickly. Now that I've shown you how to make all of the connections and get everything set up with the MIDI Maestro, let's see how it integrates with the BeatBuddy. Okay, so I've got the BeatBuddy on the left and the MIDI Maestro on the right. In the lower left corner of the MIDI Maestro, we have the accent hits foot switch. If I select this, this gives me access to 5 different sounds that are deemed as accent hits within a kit. So in the case of the rock kit, I have a closed hi-hat, snare, kick, tambourine, and a clap. So while the song is playing back, if I want to throw a couple of clap accents in there, I can do that quite easily. I'm going to press the exit foot switch twice to go back out to the surface. And from there, I'm now going to look at tap tempo, which is over here on the lower right side. Now the tap tempo works in place of the little tap button that's on the BeatBuddy. So it works just like a tap tempo should. You press it in succession, and you can see that the tempo is being updated on the BeatBuddy main screen. So let's try to get it back closer to where I want it to be. Okay, so that'll work. Once we're done, release the foot switch, and in a second, it'll go back to the main screen on the BeatBuddy. Now, I'm going to cover the enter, exit folder, and the scroll up, scroll down foot switches in just a second. But for right now, let's go ahead and hit the start button. And that works just like the main foot switch on the BeatBuddy itself. Okay, so once the song is playing back now, here's what I have access to. If I want to go to those accent hits, it's in the lower left corner like it was before. So I can go in there and just hit the different accent hits that I want to play back while the song is playing. I can also go and select different parts. So I can select the next part, where I get the transition. Then it goes to part 2. Hit that again. Now it goes to part 3. Go back to part 1 again. No problem. But what if you wanted to jump from, say, part 1 to part 3? Well, if you go to the select part foot switch here, I now have access to up to 5 different parts. So if your song has 5 parts, you can actually jump from part to part to part spontaneously. So it really makes it live. So if I want to go to, like, say, part 3, just hit part 3, we get the transition. Now we're in part 3. So once again, if we want to go to, say, part 2, we want to go back a step, let's go to part 2. Pretty cool. We can exit. Let's go back to part 1, actually. So we can exit. And then in the lower right corner, we have the tempo foot switch. Now the tempo foot switch enables me to select a new tap tempo if I want. I can scroll up and down by a single BPM. Or I can also go into double time and half time. So if I hit double time, when it recycles, now we're in double time. Press it again, and when it recycles, we're now back in standard time. Same thing goes for half time. Press it, when it recycles, we're in half time. Press it again, and when it recycles, we're now back in normal time. So let's exit, and let's go ahead and hit stop. So we'll get that the outro fill, and the BeatBuddy will stop. Now, these foot switches over here are very cool because what it enables you to do is to select different songs within that genre. So right now we're in rock. So if I use the scroll up and scroll down foot switch, this will enable me to go to, say, rock 2, rock 3, rock 4. And once I've selected it, I can then start it up again. And I've now got a new song. So let's press stop again. But what if I want to go to a different genre entirely? Like, let's say I've played a rock song and now I want to go to a Latin song. Well, very easy to do. You use the enter exit folder foot switch, and now you have access to all of the different genres that come with the BeatBuddy. So let's just say I change my mind. I'll go to world. So let's go to world, and I'll go with a, for some reason, I'm going to go from rock to polka. I don't know why, but why not, right? So select it, and in just a second, what'll happen is the BeatBuddy will automatically load that, and you're ready to go. So the song is loaded up, and I hit the start button. Yep, that's a polka if I ever heard one. Let's go to accent hits. Stop it, and there you go. But one thing I want you to notice, okay, and here's where the intuitiveness of the MIDI Maestro integration with the BeatBuddy really come in handy. Now, if I make the changes, like let's say I go to a different drum set, you see how the font is so tiny here. Now, if you're on a dark stage, that's going to look terrible because you're going to either have to put your glasses on or you have to get on your knees and look at it. But I don't know if you noticed this, but when I did that with the foot switch, with the enter exit folder foot switch, look how large the font is. You can definitely see it from a distance. So it's very handy. And I think that's one of the things that really is fantastic about the MIDI Maestro and its integration with the BeatBuddy. But that is essentially how it works in BeatBuddy mode. Now we're going to also review this in Eros mode as well, because it does a whole bunch of stuff with the Eros. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to create custom sets using the app that you can now download for both iOS and for Google. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. But for right now, this should get you started in using the MIDI Maestro with the BeatBuddy. Well, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions, be sure to visit us at thepedalguide.com. But in the meantime, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly videos and tutorials. Thanks for stopping by here at thepedalguide.com, where I love pedals and so do you.